Hi everybody, and thanks so much for that warm welcome, Brother Hammond. My name's Carl, and it's my pleasure this evening to be able to introduce Jessica and Garrett G, also known as the Bucket List family. Guys, it's great to be able to have you with us here. So my first question for this evening is, where have your adventures taken you to this week?
Hi, New Zealand. Thank you for having us. Sorry we couldn't be there in person. Really.
Yeah.
I really wish we could be there.
We're pretty open about the fact that New Zealand is our favorite place, and we wish we could be there.
Hopefully we'll come back next year and we can come in person. We are in Istanbul, Turkey.
Great to hear New Zealand is your favourite place, and Turkey sounds exciting. So for the people that don't know too much about you, would you mind giving us a bit of background as to what happened before you started your bucket list journey?
A little bit of background on us. Flashback 2 years ago. I was a student at Brigham Young University in Provo, Utah, playing on the soccer team, and alongside all of that, I had a startup, a company called Scan. Scan was an iPhone app that you could scan QR codes and barcodes, and you could do price comparisons. So if you were shopping for a camera, and it was $225 in the store, you could scan the barcode and it could tell you where you could find that camera for cheaper online. It became a very popular app, was downloaded over 100 million times, and then sold to Snapchat. And when Snapchat bought it, I decided I wanted to take a break from business, take a break from my app, and go travel the world with our family.
So when that money came into our lives, we didn't really know what to do. We had decided we wanted to travel, but we didn't want to touch the money. We felt very strongly that it came into our life so fast and that it could leave very quickly if we were not wise. So we put it all away in savings and investments, and we sold all of our belongings. We made about 45,000 US dollars, and that funded a good 6 months of travel for us.
So we decided to initially travel for 6 months, and we worked really hard to try to grow our social media and blog and do other things that might be able to make us money and kind of enable us to work on the road along our travels, so that when the money ran out from selling our belongings, that we could continue to travel. And so we did the first 6 months. We were successfully able to find ways to work on the road, and now we've continued, and it has been almost 16 months and 31 countries that we've visited.
Wow, that sounds really exciting. So what we have now is we have a number of people who have posed some questions that we'd like to put to you now. The first of which is Joshua Stinson. And what he would like to know is,
who was your inspiration growing up, and how would you like to inspire people in the future?
I have a few. Let me name all of them. I was really inspired by the stories of Michael Jordan, Walt Disney, Steve Jobs, and definitely my parents, both my mother and my father. So I personally am really grateful for the help I've had along my way. Anytime I had a business idea or wanted to try something new, there were always a lot of people willing to give me advice, help me along the way, however I needed help. And so I want to inspire people, but I also just want to hands-on help as many people as possible, so that similar how I had dreams and went after them, other people can do the same.
thanks for sharing that with us. The next question is from Kaina Magbanawa.
What motivates you to make your weekly YouTube videos and daily journal writing?
Garrett's a very, very big journal writer, and he always has been. So I think, our social media would have been, everything that we post most likely would have been there no matter what, whether or not we had followers. Maybe not as, elaborate on some things, but we would have made our weekly vlogs either way because we want to remember, and these, memories that we're making together are, super valuable to us and mean so much.
So even before we started the Bucket List family, we were still taking pictures, at least one a day, of each of our children, posting them to their personal Instagram accounts, just so we had those memories. I was already writing in a journal, and so that was a big part of it, was keeping a journal for our own keepsake, but then sharing it out with the world for anyone else who wanted to follow along.
Well, we're glad you do, because we really enjoy hearing your stories. The next question is from Brenda Meyer.
Hey, I was just wondering, how did you propose to your wife?
Good question, Brenda Maya. So, wait, first tell him she had rules of how not to propose to her.
I didn't want it in public. And I didn't want him to sing to me or like play any instruments. I didn't want it at the Harry Potter premiere. I didn't want it at the temple. Just a list of things.
And you didn't want a pumpkin.
And I didn't want it.
So she had like 5 rules, and I think I broke 3 of them. This is how it went down. We were at school, Brigham Young University in Provo, Utah. A 10-hour drive away from there is the coast. It's the ocean, the beach of Newport, California. And so she finished class on a Thursday, picked her up, had her bags packed for her, drove through the night, woke up the next day in Newport Beach, California. Had a fun day playing at the beach, and then we went to dinner that night. And by this time, she suspected it. Like, she knew it was coming. And she's kind of a cheeseball. And so when I said, "Are you ready to go to dinner?" she just started to cry. I was like, oh, this
I knew it was coming.
This is going to be a long night. But I was very nervous the entire night. And the plan was for me to get up in front of the entire restaurant, excuse the piano player that was entertaining the entire restaurant, and sit down in his place and play Jessica a song. I was incredibly nervous. I don't play the piano.
He doesn't play the piano. He for sure doesn't sing.
But I did it. To express my love to my love, I sat down at the piano, broke some of those rules from Jessica, and...
I did say yes still.
But I wrote the song. I wrote the lyrics. I played the piano by myself, taught myself that one song, and she said yes.
That's nice. Our next question is from Joellen Woods.
What are some similarities and differences that you've noticed within the members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints as you've visited different wards throughout the world?
That's a good question.
Yeah, that's been really cool to see that.
It has been fun to see. You know, we left from Utah, and to be honest, we were a little bit stuck in a rut with just, you know, so much of the culture of the church, and we were excited to get out and see the gospel in other places and people living the gospel because they believed in the gospel of Jesus Christ and not because it was the culture where you lived. And that's probably what we've loved seeing the most is, like, you know, we were in Bali at this church that had maybe 10 people, and everybody there was so devout and was like getting people to try to come to whatever like talent show the week before, and like, you know, you just saw them so involved. And I mean, I even remember the branch down in Queenstown, New Zealand, and it was pretty small. And when we walked in, they were so hopeful that we had like moved into the ward because they wanted the leadership and they wanted the help and the support. But I'm so impressed with people who live in these small branches and these countries where they are the minority. And it's been a huge testimony builder to me that, you know, that this is the gospel and we should live it no matter where we are, but because we know it, we believe it, and we have a testimony, not because it's easy or convenient or what everybody else is doing.
It's also very nice when we're traveling from foreign country to foreign country to, as soon as you step into the church, you hear the church music and its familiar sounds, and it's just like a little slice of homey feeling.
Yeah, you feel like home
in a different country. That's always been really nice. So when we were in New Zealand, we attended church in Queenstown and Rotorua.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So just to follow on from that, what are some of the differences you've seen in people generally as you've gone throughout the world?
I would say, first off, on that topic, that there's a lot of similarities in all people all around the world. That, you know, we see really great families all around the world. We see happy people. We see angry people. Like, just people are similar no matter what their race is, whatever their culture is and religion is. Like, there's a lot of similarities all around the world. But then there's some really fun differences that make everybody unique, and that's really important. What have been some cool differences?
Just the way that people live their day-to-days, like whether they live in like a high-rise in Seoul, Korea, or whether they live in like a tiny like, you know, small shed in Fiji or Tonga.
Mm-hmm.
It's cool to see that, you know, people value family wherever they are, and how like the family unit is still like a solid unit all over the world.
That's one reason, though, I think it's very important to travel, is because if you're born in a place and you get used to that culture and that way of life, you kind of start to think that that's the only way of life. And then you get out and you travel and you see like, wow, some people live in really big cities, or some people live on a small island and all they do day to day is fish and their life is fantastic. And that's, but there's just many, many different lifestyles, and it's cool to get exposed to a variety of them. So then you can see,
people have
like,
found happiness all over the world in their different lifestyles. And that's been fun to see that happiness comes in all different places.
Okay, great. The next question is from Mark Stinson.
Hi guys, my question is this. A lot of people have good ideas, but struggle to turn those ideas into reality. What are some of the things that you've learned that could help others to turn their good ideas into reality?
I love that question. That's a really awesome question, just because for me, I'm always having ideas and things that get me really excited and things I want to work on and try. And I think that's the key thing, is I'm willing to try anything. If I think it's a good idea, I'll go out and I'll start building it, I'll start working on it, I'll start testing it, whatever it is, but I'm working on it and I'm trying it. I think that's the key thing. I think too many people have the idea and they just kind of keep it at that idea phase. They might like talk about it a lot, they might share it, they might not. But I think not enough people get out there and try it. If you have a good idea,
if you're passionate enough about it, then go get the skills to create it, to build it, whether it's an app or whether it's like any sort of business. Like, an idea is just an idea and it'll be just that unless you like get out there, get your hands dirty and like build it.
So a little bit of my background, when I had the idea for an app, I did not know how to build apps. Nothing about it. And I just started Googling different skills necessary to build an app, and then I started teaching myself those skills. And then after my app, and I wanted to do this bucket list family and kind of become a travel journalist in a way, I started to teach myself photography and videography. I didn't know either of those very well. Started to Google it, got a camera, started to play around and teach myself. So that's been the process for me. If I have an idea, figure out what I need to do to test it, start doing it, teach myself those skills, and work really hard along the way.
The next question is from Cole Anderson.
What inspired you?
I'm inspired by pretty simple stuff. Or let's see, I'll say it like this. There's a lot of stuff I'm inspired by. I'm inspired by good music. I'm especially inspired by other people doing cool things. It's like
athletics, sports, yeah.
I have a long list of videos that I'll kind of keep tabs on, and I'll watch them whenever I need extra inspiration. And it's just a wide variety of like a musician who's a really good musician, or an athlete who's an amazing athlete. And I think maybe the thing that ties it together is just people doing really extraordinary things no matter their circumstances, and that inspires me because I want to do the same.
Okay, great. Thanks for that. And another question we have from the best looking person here in the Sunset Chapel, my good wife Shannon.
Hi Jessica and Garrett. I know you guys are both really humble about the service that you have been providing since you've been on your big trip, but I was wondering if there was anything that you've done that has been particularly meaningful to you both that you would feel comfortable sharing with us tonight.
So when Garrett sold his company and we had, some money in our lives, it was right around Christmas time, and we decided we want to do something big for another family for Christmas. So we were kind of praying about it and fasting about it. And one day I was just scrolling through Facebook and I felt really strongly that I should help out this family that I grew up with. I grew up with this boy, his name was Tyler, and I knew he had been undergoing some cancer treatments. He had some brain cancer. And I looked at Garrett and I said, I want to give him a vacation. Like, he's got to be really struggling. His family is just barely making ends meet, especially with all this medical stuff. And like, they had this GoFundMe account, and we could have contributed to that, which I'm sure they would have been very grateful for, but we wanted to give them like lasting memories, and not just to get by. And so for Christmas, we decided that we would give him a trip to Disneyland. So I went to the store and we bought a whole bunch of like little Disney swag and filled these backpacks for their kids. And then I went and bought a bunch of gift cards for the airlines, for Disney, and bought them passes, and just like put this whole goodie bag together. And Garrett went and then on Christmas morning, we delivered this big old package to their doorstep. And when we put it on their doorstep, they weren't there. And we didn't want to leave this like awesome thing on their doorstep. So I tracked down their parents who lived nearby, and I left it at their parents, and I said, don't tell them who it's from. We wanted it to be completely anonymous. This was like our first big thing, and I felt really strongly that I wanted to give in private. And she didn't really get my message. And later that night on Christmas Day, they showed up on our doorstep, and the mom was just in tears, just like bawling, like, I've been having these dreams about going to Disneyland and I've never even been, and you're just such an answer to prayer. And, you know, she just shared a really special moment with me that, you know, how much it meant to her and how she was afraid she was going to lose her husband. And so like having a memory together was like so important to them. And I feel like she was an answer to my prayers and I was an answer to hers. And that was really, really cool to see Heavenly Father, you know, using each other to build each other up and to like strengthen each other's testimonies. So after that day, like Garrett and I looked at each other that day and we were hooked. We were like, this is the best thing ever. And like, I want to say that I did feel like that I wanted to give, but it didn't need to always be extreme. It didn't need to be a trip to Disneyland. And so we decided every single month on Fast Sunday, we would fast who we could help that month. Whether it was something very small, like giving of our time, or even something like financially. The next month was Valentine's Day. And there was a boy on Garrett's soccer team who was quitting the soccer team because he needed to focus on his career and school. And he was a really great player and a really good leader and just a good guy. And we felt really strongly like, this is too bad. Like he's not going to be able to do something he loves because he can't afford it. So we decided for Valentine's Day, we would just give him a little bit of cash. So we go to the grocery store and Garrett's picking out like a cheesy little Valentine and I'm getting like some gift cards and we put it into an envelope and then all of a sudden we look up and we see him standing right there. And we're like, oh my gosh. And we looked at him and, you know, kind of made up this lie as to what we were doing. And then he was like, oh, I'm just going home right now. And we like hurried and checked out and said goodbye. And we blitzed his house before he could. And he was on his bike and, you know, left him this gift and stuff. And at first we didn't know if he knew it was from us, but I think eventually we got a letter from him maybe 6 months later about how grateful he was for it. But basically just those first 2 months of doing something like where we were consistently seeking and consistently asking whom we could help. Heavenly Father basically came out and let us know very clearly, like, I'm listening to you and I want you to help others. And if you're only willing to ask, he will let you be his hands. And that's been one of the most precious experiences. If you ask and God commands us to give and to serve. And so if you say, yes, I'm willing to do this, then he will bless you with miracles. And it's been really, really fun to see that. We still do that every Fast Sunday. We talk about who we can help and what we can do. And we've seen some really incredible miracles. And some have been really big and some have been really small. But we're really grateful for those first 2 months where we were shown so clearly that yes, like, keep doing this and I will show you miracles.
Thanks for sharing that story with us, Jessica. It's a great reminder of what it means to provide meaningful service, and it's why we're here tonight in this devotional, to be inspired and be mindful of those around us and to be able to serve others. The next question is from Tuatai Wihungi Tekatua.
What's the meaning of life for you now?
I think the meaning of life now is the same as it was before all this. Striving to be a good child of God, striving to be a good spouse, striving to be a good mom, Nothing's really changed. We want to do what's right. We want to serve others, and we want to make others happy and make ourselves happy.
Great, thanks guys. Perhaps time for one last question from me. In a People magazine interview, you mentioned that you've learned to find happiness with less. It'd be great if you could let us know what you mean by that.
So when we sold everything, we sold like literally everything. I think there were 2 boxes that we kept, journals, photos, yearbooks, just like our most valued items, but that was it. We sold all of our clothes, our furniture, kitchen stuff, electronics, like everything. And at first it was sad. You kind of feel like you have this sentimental attachment to all of your stuff, but as soon as we started to like sell it and then people gave us money for it, that felt good. And then when we started to see just like our overall house have less and less stuff, that also felt like a relief of stress. And then once we had sold everything and we look and everything we owned fit into 5 pieces of luggage, that felt really good and very stress-free. And so
for me, it was hard to sell a lot of stuff. There were certain things that had a lot of meaning, and that even though I didn't use them all the time, it just meant a lot. And so it was a really good lesson to me to learn that things are just things, and that the most important thing in life is these memories we are about to make, and the relationships that we have. And that's what Heavenly Father wants us to do. He wants us to learn, to grow, to experience, to serve, and not worry about physical things, because we're not going to take them with us into the next life.
Thanks for sharing that with us. And that brings us to the end of this interview. Thank you so much, Jessica and Garrett, for making the time to talk with us this evening. We know you're busy, and we just pray that you and your family will continue to be blessed as you continue to serve the Lord. You're a special family, you do amazing things throughout the world, and we just thank you so much for everything that you're doing and for your time tonight. Thanks, and have a great night.